to the House of Rudy. I am happy you are here today. Let's get the show started. As you can see, I have revamped the set yet again, and I'm finally happy. I'm finally happy with the way it came out. I love red, I love black, and I kind of like wood. You know what I'm saying? I like wood around me. I like being in the woods too. There was a test. I was at Rio Hondo College in Whittier, California, and it's just a JC. It's nothing to brag about. However, we did take a test one time that we what did we do? We took a test to see like what environment we liked being around, and I remember some of it was like nature and wood, and then the other was like industrial and like metals and stuff. And some people were like office settings. I don't know. It was weird stuff. But I remember I tested like wood. I liked having wood around me. So which is cool because I do like doing woodwork. I like getting my hands dirty, dude. I like building things. I put this whole set together by myself. You know what I'm saying? And I'm finally happy about it. So people are probably like, "Man, it's too much red." I don't care. Red's my favorite color. And I'm kind of colorblind. So, to be honest, red is like the color that stands out to me. And maybe that's why I have a fascination and love for it. But yeah, like I'm not fully colorblind. I'm like, I find it hard to differentiate between like similar colors like blue and purple or yellows and oranges. Um, what else? Like sometimes black and gray. Purple and blue I always get mixed up though. Um, Green and brown, those are hard for me to tell apart unless they're like really extremes of the color. So like super bright green or something, and like my dad's brown truck he had, poop brown. And yeah, so like I don't know, man. I just like the color red. It's always stayed out to me. I have no association with that in gangs or even like in the Mexican side, it's like Southsiders and North people, Norteños and Sureños. Their color differential is you got to be aware of that. Sureños are blue, Norteños are red. I like red. I live in Southern California. It's tough. My brother, my brother would always let me know that he hated the color red. Um, and I used to wear it even more just to bother him. I was such a schmuck, man. I used to dress like in Metal Militia, red shirts in Metal Militia. Terrible, dude. If you cracked open my high school yearbook, you'd see like the dumbest quote anyone could ever give. And I hope that when people look back at it, they think I was serious. It would make it even better, dude. Um, but speaking about family members, I want to kind of open up with you guys a little about my life, and now that I excuse me, now that I have the set finally up to my par, I can focus more on my content and recording, and I have like 5 episodes that I just haven't even edited and put out yet. I've been really putting focus into getting the set to my liking, and I'm finally happy about it. So I can move forward with my content, but I kind of just want to like bring you guys into my world. Um, I got a family member that's coming home from a residential stay with a California facility, and I think about him because he went in prior to COVID, and I'm thinking, he asked me to get him an Airbnb. He has some money, and he just wants like an Airbnb for 2 weeks to really just quarantine and adjust back to life. And, in my head, I'm like, yeah, of course, I'll take care of it. No problem. You just give me the information of what you'd like, where you want to be, and I'll get it set for you. But I worry I worry a lot about him. I love him. Um, is a very close family member, and I worry about him. And he's coming home in hopefully the next 30 days to maybe 45 days at most. But he's coming home, and for the first time in about 20, maybe 20 plus years, he's not on probation or parole. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the justice system and legal process of criminals or criminal defense or criminal persecution, you maybe might not know parole and probation and the differences. Parolees are basically for felons, I believe. I could be incorrect, but from my experience, I believe the parole officers handle parolees, which are felons coming from a federal prison, and I think probation is like um, a secondary consequence other than going to jail. So, you know, instead of, you steal something for petty theft, instead of going to jail, you're going to be on 3 years of probation. So, the thing with parole and probation is, depending on how long it is, if you violate, it just adds more time and you're back in the can. And a violation can come very, very easily. Excuse me, I was drinking water. And violations can come, felons cannot have a firearm at all around them. They cannot be around other felons. And if they're around other felons that do have firearms, that means it just gets worse from there. And anytime you get pulled over, you're subject to a full search, whether you agree or not. And that's you lose a lot of your right to freedom. And so I think about this family member coming home and him not being on parole or probation. It's almost like he's being granted an opportunity to fix it, to come out and start fresh and not have to worry about violating, and not have to just run around and bring attention to himself. I hope that when he comes out that he learns how his lifestyle can alter everything. And people complain about harassment from the police. Oftentimes, I shouldn't say oftentimes, but there are times where individuals bring it upon themselves to have the attention. And this family member does not shy away from that. Whether he's driving fast or with loud music, he's got a shaved head. He looks like a pelon, and he's got all kinds of tattoos. He looks the part. Whatever that part is, that's what society made. I don't have control over it. It's what society deemed as maybe against the grain. But to sum it all up, it just means that it gives these police officers a reason to look at you. You don't want them to look at you. You want them to just continue with whatever they need to do. Hopefully they are fighting crime and actually being, saviors of this freedom that we cherish so much. But there are police that are not, But back to my family member. I can't imagine what to expect when he comes home. But then I also believe too that while he's in there, he has access to the outside world. There are cell phones, there are tablets, there's access to the internet. Depending on how lenient your guards may be, you might get anything. And so I'm certain that he's aware of what's out here. However, I can't even imagine just being told this is how life is. This is how life is, and then you come out and it's like, whoa, dude, this is really life. Like you gotta wear a mask between drinks if you're at a bar, in some casinos. Between drinks. I mean, some of this crap is just theater. I went to dinner with my daughters, and at the place we had little like peanuts or something, and the lady specifically told us, um, you have to have peanuts in the bag. They cannot touch the table. The shells have to go in a bucket. I mean, that's just freaking ridiculous. That's pure theater. You're not telling me when I sit down, and I'm sitting down with my two daughters who are 5 and 10 years old, who tend to make a little bit of a mess when they eat. We do our best. I clean up. I don't leave it too messy for the waiters or waitresses or the bus boys or bus girls or whatever you want to call them. And I just I can't I can't wrap my head around the theater that goes around these companies to make such stupid ideas and policies that the frontline workers have to deal with, dude. Like that waitress, like I was frustrated when she told me that, and I just told her, this is ridiculous. Like it's pure theater. It has nothing to do with you. I understand you're doing what you need to. Again, it has nothing to do with you. It bothers me so much. She just said, I know, and kind of walked away. And I just thought more, like my thought was, when we sit down and my daughters are eating and they have crumbs, you don't tell us, make sure any food that falls from your mouth is picked up and put on a plate. Do not let it touch the table. So it just really threw me off, man. And it's been bothering me that this theater BS about, wearing a mask when you walk from your table to the bathroom, like, I kind of understand it if it's really tight and you're spreading your germs, but once you're in a restaurant, isn't the air just being recycled through? I don't see anywhere where we reopened does it state these any restaurant or any building has to have a certain air purifier that helps funnel the bad air out. I don't even know if that's possible, but there's no mention of that. We're opening it up. Is anybody thinking about it? I don't know. It's kind of dumb we have to wear a mask when we walk into a place and then get up to maybe go to the bathroom. It just, it's bothering me. It's really bothering me, and I don't want to sound like that dude that's just like ranting about, oh, I have to wear a mask, boo hoo. I'm not saying that. Like, I understand wearing mask and the what am I trying to say? I understand mask and the importance of them, but it just bothers me when people kind of just, I guess, ascertain their own belief of the virus and belief that, oh, if we do this, this might help. But they don't look at the overall picture that maybe it doesn't. And the 6 foot distance is now being, scrutinized to maybe be 3 feet distance. Who knows? There was a point where 2 masks were necessary, and then 1 mask, and then 4 masks, and no bandanas, all this stupid stuff. But it's getting irritable, but not irritable in the sense that like I'm gonna react or get angry with someone. There's no specific person I'm mad at. I'll say that. There's no specific agency that I'm mad at or organization. Although the government has fumbled and done some things that Like, what the heck happened in 2020? Like, do you understand the political divide that caused so many people to just go without? And I'm saying that without because we got one stimulus, I believe, in March or April, and then what? We didn't hear anything until freaking what? I think September, October. I don't know. I always know it was the end of the year. All because the Democrats did not want the Republicans to move forward, and then it flipped. Democrats were trying to force in as much as they can into this CARES Act, into all these reforms and bills, and it just we were gonna give money to a foreign country to help with women's diversity. I don't know, but it was a COVID-19 U.S. assistance program, or it should have been a bill to help America and Americans. I don't think I followed up on it. I'm too ignorant to really know what happened or if the money got sent out. Does anybody know that? Because I believe that bill was turned down, and then obviously they passed more, but did it get stuck in there and it got shadowed by something bigger? I really don't know, man. But it's so daunting to think about last year and the things that occurred, and this family member that I'm speaking about that's coming home soon. He experienced one of the worst years in American history in prison. Now that's a point of view I don't think I've ever considered of what it looks like from a prisoner's view in a pandemic. And speaking with this family member, I've heard certain things and things about COVID that have happened in there, and guys not wanting to report that they're sick because they would get sent out to the county jail. And if you know anything about the LA County Jail, it is disgusting. It is an old, disgusting building, and the former Sheriff Lee Baca was famously charged and I believe sentenced to 3 years because he organized and didn't do anything about the abuse that was going on in the LA County Jail. So when people would say, like, man, county's bad, or street dudes are like, man, if you go to county, like, be careful, they weren't lying. And it's still like that. So anyways, if you're in prison and you get COVID, they would send you to the LA County Jail, and they wouldn't let you back out. So you would have to do the rest of your time there, unless you had a long stay, and then I'm sure they'd figure it out. So no one wanted to report that. So that means everybody was hiding it. However, they're getting sick. They're passing it around. They're not thinking of that. They're thinking about themselves, which, to be honest, if you're in prison, what else are you going to think about, man? You're going to think about yourself and the things you've done and the people you've affected and everything you. So you're not going to, think about, oh, I don't want to get anybody else in jail sick. Prisoners don't think about that stuff. They're not going to think like, oh, man, I want to make sure my tear's not going to get sick today. Excuse me. I need to go to county. That's not how like inmates do it, dude. So I've been thinking about this family member's point of view that only he is going to be able to share. And I'm looking forward to the day he's released. And I know that he's a good man in his heart. His heart is gold, man. He would not hurt an innocent person. He wouldn't. That's not to say he hasn't hurt people. Um, but as for innocent, just a bystander, yeah, he didn't do that stuff. He didn't go rob people, innocent people. He was a bad man, but he was a bad man to bad men. And I always wish that when he came home, he would leave it all behind. And I went through years and years of disappointment because he just kept going back and back to that life. It killed me. It killed me to watch the effects it had on the other family members. Because I saw it all, heard it all in the house, you know, for years, for years, for years. And there was some animosity that grew toward this family member that's coming home. And the animosity was really towards just that he couldn't understand or see the pain it was causing everyone that loved him so much. And as he got deeper and deeper and buried, he lost sight of who he was and began what I believe feeling shame for who he was. I compare it to a guy at a dinner party who's just doesn't feel he has anything he has positive to talk about in his life with anyone there. So why show up? Even though we're his family, the internal guilt and pain will not let him look past this distorted view of what he believes he is. And there were days where I just wish I could change him. When I was a kid, I used to cry because I felt like, well, he didn't want to be a part of my life, so screw him, you know? And I'd hate him. But there would be something going on in me that would make myself hate me for hating him. Like a guilt, a true guilt that I felt. So even though I would curse his name, I felt guilty. In brown households, man, I can't speak to everybody. I don't know how it goes in white households or black households. So, I can only speak to the brown family, and that's okay. Like I'm not saying I'm not open to learning either. I am fascinated by all cultures, but from my experience in the brown community, the brown house, we stick together as much as we possibly can. Usually, what I've seen a mother and son's bond in a brown household is one of the strongest in the world. And the father and son sometimes is not always the most connected. And depending on that relationship you have with your father, it could really deter you from living like a happy and content life. And this family member has had the same opportunities as me, but a little less. Like, I shouldn't say as me then. Um, has had opportunities, but he has a lot of self-guilt for the man he was and is, but he's trying. And I wish I could just take it from him sometimes. Like, dude, I've lived with self-guilt where, like, I couldn't even stand looking at myself in the mirror, you know? I've lived with that, and it sucks, dude. I don't want to live my full life like that. I don't want to be 80 years old and hate the man I am or was or have become. No, man. I want my kids to love me. That's what I want. You know, I've been in therapy before, and my therapist has told me that if you look at grandparents and you see family always returning, always coming back, always having dinners, always hanging out, you can tell that those grandparents instilled love into those children, and those grandchildren are feeling the effects of the grandparents' love. And then you see the grandparents where the kids do not come back. Nobody cares to talk to them. Why is that? Well, they filled their house with crap or whatever it was to get by, but they didn't fill it enough with love. And then, as a parent, sometimes there ain't nothing you can do, and that child is going to grow up to be a man or a woman and make their own decisions in life, and sometimes make the worst decisions in life. Is that a reflection on the parent? It always is. If you're a parent, you understand that. It's always on you. Do your best to raise them right, so that maybe they don't have to come home from a long stay. Maybe they don't have to be on parole or probation to understand it's not right to live a harmful life. But I love this family member very dearly. Very dearly. I'd do anything for him. And he'd do anything for me. He has. And when he's home, there's two parts of me. One that I wish sometimes he'd be locked up, because at least I'd know where he was. The other part is just glad that he's free. So I have a battle in me when he's home, and I worry that one day I'll get the call that he's no more, and I wouldn't be able to deal with that, and it would be I don't even want to think about that, but that's what goes through my head when he's out, and not doing good. Because there were times that he did do good. He had long stretches of being a good man, and that's what I loved about my brother, my family member. And I just know that he tries. He's trying. one thing I've noticed with individuals that come out of prison is the minute they've hit their first obstacle, they revert back to old ways that unfortunately got them in prison in the first place. And I don't know. I highly doubt that prison um, builds up an individual to be able to overcome obstacles without giving up. Because it's kind of like, how the heck do you do that? How the heck do you make this office or this inmate feel the pressures of outside life in prison? Can't bring his kids in there. You can't bring his wife. You can't tell him the bills are due. Well, there's no way. So when they come out and they're, well, I'm gonna work. I'm gonna go get a job. I got a job. It's $10 an hour. I only bring home $200 a week, and our light bill is $150. Like, all right, I gotta work. In a month I'll make $800 after taxes. $600. The pressures of life start hitting you. And what happens is sometimes they fold under pressure. And they revert back to, again, whatever it was that got them back into prison. But that's not always the case. I have a family member that's very dear to me. And he overcame odds that really I don't think I personally would ever be able to overcome. Because of my upbringing, and to throw me into an upbringing as his, man, I tip my hat to him. I truly appreciate this man. He's a big figure in my life, and I'm proud to have the relationship I have with him. And he's a good man. He's a complicated dude because he has a drive in him that's unlike anyone I've ever met, where he needs to continue moving forward physically and using his head mentally. So thinking of things, he's a hardworking tradesman, and he busts his butt. He knows his industry. He does a hell of a job, and always has held a job ever since I've met him. Never had an issue. However, he does have a past where he was affiliated with gangs and drugs and doing bad things on the streets. Him and his brothers, and he was literally the bust out kid, from inner city LA to some suburb that was completely out of his element. And he was the cholo kid being dropped off there. So him coming up, he had no option. His dad and his mom were not very strong supporters in his life at that time that he needed them as. He grew up in a one-bedroom home in a family of 6. Actually a studio room, I believe he was saying. And so, he had those trials, he had those weights to carry, and he did some bad things and got into trouble, and he was becoming the statistic. The statistic that this brown man is going to be at some point incarcerated. And he was, at a young age. And now, fast forward about 20 to 25 years, I look at this man who owns a beautiful home, his own truck, or his great work truck. His wife's got a great car. His daughter, who hasn't got her driver's license yet, already has her vehicle lined up. They just put in an awesome backyard with a pool, and it's just beautiful. And their home is just gorgeous. And I look at this man, and I think of a 16-year-old image of him running the streets and smoking crack. and selling crack and looking for his brother, in on the homeless sidewalks of Skid Row, and it just it astonishes me, but in the end it builds more appreciation for the man I get to look at every day. And it makes me happy. It truly does. It makes me very happy. He's a good dude. They don't all turn out bad. Some of them get their act together. And yeah, so I just kind of wanted to share with you guys just a little insight of a family member that's coming home soon, and I've just been thinking about him a lot. And yeah, I'm not sure if he'll ever be on the podcast or anything will come of it, but as for my personal life, like it's just something that's been on my mind, and I constantly think of him. So I hope that I'm able to provide a smooth transition for him from the incarcerated life to freedom. And I'm gonna do my best. So hopefully I can keep you guys updated on this. Um, but yeah, tune into the next show. Peace.